What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Derry over on HBO has officially dropped. And this is exactly why I like the idea of seeing horror franchises and horror movies be adapted into series and on these streaming platforms. Because you can do and get away with a lot. You can flush more stuff out. You can kind of create and dive into a bigger universe, characters, right? Instead of cramming everything into an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours, even 2.5 hours, you can spread things out and be more creative in a lot of areas, right? You can have better scenes, better kills, right? Still be able to flush out the characters in a way to where you actually care, right? Something I talk about in movies recently is the lack of character development, the lack of just being able to tell a story because you're trying to cram so much into one film, where a series, you get these adaptations, even something like It, that each kind of the mini series back in the 90s is like 4 or 5 hours, and then even the recent 2017 2019 It films, which were a more modern, darker, more brutal, intense adaptation, again, is 5 hours. You get to kind of flush this out over 8+ hours, and you can kind of pace yourself, right? There was a lot of talks about that going into the actual series about how you're going to get other things besides just Pennywise, right? Yes, you're going to get Pennywise. Yes, you're going to get the clown version, but there's so much more to it than just the clown persona that he puts on. And I love that you got to dive into some of those things early on, and just the overall brutality that you get, right? Obviously, people are loving kind of particularly the opening, as well as the kind of the last 10 minutes, as well as just, again, the darkness that this went into. Right, if you're going to do something like, especially something like It, like Pennywise, and just how dark and brutal it can be, especially the modern adaptation, where I've talked about, like, the 90s version was more storytelling, right? You got a lot more details in that version than the more modern version. The more modern version leaned more into the horror, into the gore, into that. But you can see with this particular version, we're getting 3 different series, 3 different years that are going to be adapted, right? Like, you can see that they want to have the combination of both. They want to have, yes, the darkness and more modern, brutal kind of Pennywise that, no one is off limits, right? Which I've seen a lot of people talk about. One thing that I think is kind of interesting is a lot of people talking about how, the kids aren't safe, and, they're taking, like, every film has, I mean, that's what it does, right? It targets the children, right? And so yes, I understand the more kind of brutality, right? Like, if you want to say that, this series has been more brutal in that aspect of actually showing it, then yeah, sure, right? Like, but that's kind of the whole gist of it, right? Like that, it's every parent's fear, every town's fear, every thing of, like, okay, if this were to happen, you're like, what do you do? And then now it's this, deity, right? It definitely is and has this level of terrifying, and obviously we're early into the series, so we don't know yet how good or bad this could potentially be. We've seen a lot of shows over the years start off with an absolute bang and, kind of set the tone early, and you're like, oh man, this is going to be a ride. And then it kind of starts to trickle off and fall off. I hope that that's not the case. I hope that that's not what happens here, right? You had a great establishment episode, right? And I want to see them kind of continue to build off of that. I believe that they will, just, again, based on the information we had going into the series and what they want to do. You have, again, that kind of very modern series and show, and with the effects and all that. And I mean, Bill Skarsgård returning as Pennywise. I mean, he's just so great in that role, and just menacing and terrifying. And you have some great shots and some great scenes, and you can feel the anxiety at times, right? You can feel like the brutality, and you just know, like, oh, things are about to get crazy, right? Or at least that's how it feels as we move an inch closer to the next episode and then beyond. They establish kind of, this losers club that no one feels safe, right? And no one really seems to be able to, you don't know what's lurking behind the corner. And, this is, again, this is a great established series that I'm hoping not only propels this franchise, but also others that follow suit, right? You got like Camp Crystal Lake. There's talks about potentially doing other kind of horror adaptations into series. Scream has been a thing that, they've talked about for years because they had the Scream series on like MTV and stuff, and now they want to kind of redo it again. Right? In horror series in general have so much potential, right? Like, you think of like horror franchise, horror series, right? Even like things like From. I'm a big fan of From, and I can't wait for the next season to come out. But like, you can flush out and build the characters, seeing them starting to establish stuff, and take your time and pace yourself, right? Like, it's all about the execution, delivery, and how you properly kind of put this all together, and even the ending, and even how you kind of close this, right? I'm not talking about just specific episode, I'm talking about the series period. But I do love that we are diving into different kind of horrors that Pennywise or It can portray. Because like even in the books and stuff, it's not just the clown. It's not just like, oh, well, like it takes on your fears, takes on things like you might, there's generalized things, like spiders or whatever, giant spiders, terrifying, right? Like, whether you're afraid of spiders or not, but Pennywise wants to get to your personalized fear. Like, what's the thing that is going to petrify you the most? Yeah, I want you scared, but I want you beyond scared. I want you so terrified that I don't even need to use the deadlights, right? Like, you are already in that through just the horrors that I show you. And so to me, I love that we're seeing already different versions of what it can do, because it's not so simple, right? As we've seen in the different adaptations, right? Like, there's many shapes, many forms that Pennywise or It can take that I want them to dive into and explore. And they said, leading into this series, that we were going to get a lot of different versions of It, and that it wasn't just going to be the clown. That yes, we were going to get the clown because, again, Bill Skarsgård is so, the aura, and you're so gravitated towards him as Pennywise, the dancing clown, that, I do think that they need to have, like, I don't think you could do a series without it, but, it doesn't have to just be that. And I hope that they kind of continue to build upon that. And, again, the hype, I think, is real behind this. I mean, obviously, we'll see how they continue to execute. You had a good first establishment, right? There's always pros and cons and all this stuff. There's things that, could have been better or should have been better. And there are things that were, about as good, like, man, like, and then there's things that you wouldn't even have thought, that you're just like, wow, that was, really cool. So I like the way that we were able to get started, right? Set the tone early for the expectations. Now, but the problem is now you have to meet those expectations the rest of the way. Now, you started off with such a, hey, here you go, in your face, let's go, we're hitting the ground running, that now you're going to end up having to maintain that at least. Obviously, there'll be, valleys and peaks and stuff like that, and you'll have the roller coaster that is this series, but, it's just, how well can they maintain going forward? I'm excited to see it, and I'm really looking forward to kind of, the continued storytelling and continue of how they're going to approach this. And then obviously the other installments that we're going to get. We're going to get 2 more series after this one. And if those 2 are anything like this, what a great spot to be in. And I mean, look, this is starting off to be very successful. Are they really going to end it after 3? Right? Like, that's going to be kind of interesting. Do we get another movie? Right? This is something that could really kind of like skyrocket the It franchise, and take it to another really stratosphere, right? Like and allow us to get movies and further series and maybe other stories and stuff like that, and maybe even kind of incorporate the Dark Tower and all of that, right? So we'll kind of see how this progresses. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? What did you make of the first episode? What do you make of the series thus far? Are you excited? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are there things in particular that you want to see done better? Are there things in particular that you think were just perfect? Anything that you would change specifically? Just let me know kind of your overall thoughts and general opinions on the series thus far. Obviously, we're very early on, so you still are at that impasse where it could go. We could go multiple ways, but just the way that they establish it, if they can maintain that, I think that this is going to have a lot of success, and I'm really excited for it. But anyway, again, however you feel, either way, I'll love to hear it down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.